Good morning. If you're watching the live stream from the Bullen broadcast studio, I'm Scott Jarden, and Mark Warner, my associate, our national sales manager, sitting next to us. So the regular show, this would be considered the last day, and I always say the last day is the last day. So if we had said the last day is Tuesday, that would have been the last day, but today's the last day. It doesn't matter, it's the last day, okay? But
could you explain that to me again?
Today's a little different because when we're all done here, we're going to get in our cars and drive home.
Very true.
The benefit of the virtual trade show is we're not going to have to wait for our boxes to come out. Those of you that haven't been an exhibitor at a trade show before probably don't know what we're talking about, but there's a whole thing about people packing up their booths around you before the show's even over, and then you sit there for hours on end waiting for the union guys to bring your boxes out. Nope, we're just going to disconnect our microphones and go home. Right? With that said, let's get this going because it is the last day and we've got a lot of stuff today. So, Mark, what are we talking about today?
Well, this particular segment is a conversation about how to go about leveraging things like education, training, and certification in order to drive your business. And in reality, of the three, it's probably best to define what all of them are. They're very different. Education is really just the acquisition of some knowledge. I mean, technically, you can watch a 5-minute YouTube video. Or us, and you can get a little bit of an education. But training, however, is a much deeper dive. There's an assumption that there's compounding of knowledge taking place where the knowledge can now be implemented into the workplace. So having the knowledge on how to fly a plane, for example, doesn't take the place of having the training of how to implement that knowledge behind the stick of an aircraft. And so that's another element that's much deeper, generally has a higher cost in both time and money. And then at the next level is at some point you may want to document that you have this kind of training. And that kind of documentation requires passing some form of exam. And once you've passed that rather extensive exam, it allows you now to receive a certificate that certifies you as having the knowledge that the people would want to know that you have. So for example, I would want to know that the pilot on my plane flying back from the show was actually certified as a pilot rather than just having been trained.
Not just on a flight trainer.
Yes, and you know, he might have been, who knows, he might not have learned how to land.
So, you can take off. Oh, wait, I missed that part. So, do we have to land?
So the idea is that, you know, that at some level, somebody benefits greatly by having somebody that's documented as having education knowledge combined into formal training. So the key part is to all of this in the cleaning industry is who is it that actually would benefit from knowing that somebody was skilled and trained in the arts and sciences of the cleaning industry. And right now, it's kind of like everybody. Right? Yeah. So the questions we're getting from everybody right now is, I didn't know I couldn't just spray and wipe with disinfectant. I really have to pre-clean and apply. Well, how do I know how to learn how to do that? You know, so there's a lot of people now that are actually in a position where they're I'd almost say demanding some form of formal education rather than knowing that, and you described this the other day, how most people in the cleaning industry get trained is Joni told Fred, and Fred told Tom, and Tom told whatever.
For 20, 30 years, they've gained this knowledge from 5 people that maybe half of them didn't know what they're doing.
Exactly, exactly, and stories morph.
Yeah.
Like a story about a mouse around a campfire. If you ever played that game, turns into a story about a moose. You know, it's just, it warps. And that's kind of the concern. That's why training in education and certification has become very formalized. So with all that said, what does the training and the education look to? Yep. Well, right out of the gate, there's a golden rule, a formula that really reflects what the entire industry is all about, and that is you can get training and you can figure out stuff, but you can't do any of that properly unless you actually know what is the end game. What is it that's considered to be a successful outcome of highly trained, highly skilled people doing these cleaning tasks? What is that outcome? So standards becomes the first part of learning the cleaning industry's game. You gotta know the standards. One of the standards that many of you are familiar with is the ISSA. Scott, you were past president. I served as a director for the ISSA and served as manager of the education department, doing all things related to training and certification. So we want to show our reverence to the ISSA, and the ISSA cleaning standard is certainly one of the most recognized cleaning standards in the industry. The other thing that we can talk about realistically is standards like APA, standards like SIMS, and those are just 3 of the standards that exist out there. So that's the starting point of getting some knowledge, but to go beyond that, it's how do I achieve these standards? And that's where a lot of training and education goes at a higher level within the cleaning industry. One of the things we talked about the other day was, all right, if I've got a standard, how do I guarantee to meet it? And you remember we were talking a little bit about, it's really wrapped around things like knowing what is the traffic patterns and the soil load and the seasonal impacts, and what is the frequency I need to assign to each of these cleaning tasks. And Scott,
to achieve the goal.
To achieve the goal. And so that's really critical now with COVID. You know, if we've got nobody coming in the building, how often do you have to disinfect it? Well, not once. You know, but if you've got a continuous flow of people coming through an area, at what point do you have to document that you're certifying or sanitizing those touch points? You think about going to a mini market, for example, and using a touchpad screen to order your lunch or something like that. Well, how many people touch that in between their cleaning cycle? And so a lot, right? So in an instance like that, you would expect there to be a very high frequency on doing a wipe down on that.
You would expect
And
that.
all things cleaning require certain frequency. We were joking about floor care, you know? It's all dependent on traffic and soil load and what is the frequency. So the next thing that ties into all that is the knowledge that these are the frequencies needed to hit that goal. All right, that's kind of the simple part. And the question that I always get asked is, well, okay, I know that, but how do I know how many people it's going to take to do that? Like, I'm trying to come up with a dollar figure. And so, you know, Scott, we've talked about this a lot, that people can use their past experiences. They can pull a number out of the air. But you were president of an association that actually wrote books and studies on how long it takes.
And updates it on a regular basis. So that's something that the ISSA can provide, their cleaning times booklet, I believe it's called, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It started off as the 480, and then they added more times to it. It became known as the 540, and then recently they added more times to it. It's now known as the 612. That number represents the number of cleaning tasks that have been studied and researched to come up with a consensus of what it would take on average to clean a sink, to load a towel cabinet, to top scrub a floor, or to extract a carpet. 612 individual tasks.
I think one of the more interesting things that's involved with that cleaning times book and study is, you know, cleaning a sink's one thing. There's not a lot of variables on how to clean a sink, but it's very interesting to look at those cleaning times things and say, okay, you can clean this floor with an auto scrubber, you can clean it with a mop, or you can clean it with whatever, and it shows you the differences between different techniques for cleaning the same area, same object, whatever.
Absolutely.
And then you can optimize it based on your budget.
And that ties into everything that we're talking about. So what we might say is, hey, I got 10 people. They all got mop buckets and rags. How long is it going to take to give you the outcome? Can it be done? Well, yeah, but I'm gonna need more than 10 people. I'll need 700 people because all they have is antiquated equipment.
Yeah, I was in Beijing for a trade show long time ago, and staying in a very nice hotel, and they had people on their hands and knees cleaning the floor with rags. And I said, boy, you could really do that job a lot easier if you had an auto scrubber. And they said, no, I can have 15 people. Is astronomically cheaper than buying an auto scrubber.
Well, here in the U.S., we have an environment that provides free labor as well. It's called the U.S. military, and anybody that's ever been through boot camp has been told to go in and clean the grout in the bathroom floor with a toothbrush, right? So, I mean, it can be done, and it can be done impeccably, but it would take an intense amount of hours. And so what ultimately happens when you do a calculation on how long it's going to take is you come to the realization is, I don't have that kind of resources. I don't have unlimited labor, and I don't have unlimited money. And I need to figure out how to work with the least amount of people, and the only way that works is just to your point. Maybe I need to get away from a mop bucket, and maybe I need to get an automatic scrubber. And if I'm doing 30,000 square feet at a time, maybe I need a ride-on automatic scrubber that travels at the speed somebody can run rather than somebody walking behind an auto scrubber. And all of that math you could do by buying the machine and timing it with a stopwatch, or you could use the easy button, which is just to get a research document prepared by the ISSA that identifies how much time is considered on average to perform all these tasks. And there's another thing that the ISSA offers on top of the 612 cleaning times, and we had flashed it up earlier, and that's the InfoClean 2.0, which is a software program that goes for just a couple $100. It's not thousands of dollars, but it is designed to actually incorporate in it all of the times that are in the hard copy book. But it allows you to just put in the data you're looking for. I got 15,000 square feet. I'm using it,
right?
I got 15,000 square feet. I'm using a 24-inch auto scrubber, a walk behind. How long should that take? Bang. Rather than having to look it all up with a calculator and measure it out. And that's the important part. The other part of that is, I've had people saying to me, believe it or not, and this is not an irreverent statement to make, but I've had people say, well, our team, I don't go by the cleaning times. Our team is better than that. And I say, really? They'll say, yeah, we're faster than that. And I said, so how do you explain that to somebody else? They say, well, we just tell them we're great. I'm like, look, it would have a lot more power if you were to say the ISSA's consensus on how long it takes to do 15,000 square feet is 27 minutes, and our team does it in 24 minutes. Now, I've provided you pure reference as to why and how much better I am than average.
Good point.
But if you don't know what the average is, how can you proclaim yourself to be better than it?
Well, because you are.
So that's what all of that ties into play. And then when you get all that done and you've got that mastered, then the idea is, I want to have a document or some way to show the world, whether I'm a BSC and I want to show it to my existing clients, or if I'm a BSC and I want to show it to new prospective clients, or if I'm an in-house service provider managing an entire team in a college, I want to be able to show that I have this knowledge. And so I'll take an exam, a very elaborate exam. In some cases, these exams are hours long, but they cover things that we know and that we've studied. And what you get out of that then is a certificate that documents your knowledge and skill level. And that's what our industry needs, Scott, more than anything else, is we not only need skilled and trained workers, but we need to have skilled and trained workers that are documented as having that
they're extremely
skill.
important now.
Otherwise, they could feel like they're skilled and trained because Joni told Freddie and Freddie told Joan, and we like them. But that carries no bearing.
Pre-COVID, it used to be like do we need to vacuum those offices that nobody's been in? And it's like, yeah, well, it doesn't really, do you do it, you don't do it? It's like, what's going to happen if you don't vacuum the office, right? Nowadays, it's a whole different picture. If they don't do what they're supposed to do, you've got a major problem.
Studies show that the cleaning industry's workforce is the largest workforce in the entire world. It is larger than anything else, because when you think about professional cleaning, any public building being cleaned is being cleaned by someone that is part of professional cleaning. When you clean your own home, you're not, right? But if you're cleaning someone else's facility, you're acting in the form of a professional.
I like to think when I'm cleaning my house, I'm a professional.
I agree with that. But the interesting statistic is that if it's the largest workforce in the world, and technically there are 5 million people in the workforce as professional cleaners involved with the cleaning industry. If you do that math and you know, coincidentally, that only 250,000 of them, for a fact, are actually documented as certified and trained in the arts and sciences of cleaning, and you mathematically do the calculation, that comes out to 5%. Which means 95% of the cleaning industry on a worldwide level is not documented as skilled and trained in the arts and sciences of cleaning. What does that mean? It means if you have to spend a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 to get yourself documented as certified and trained, you've just elevated yourself into the top 5% of the cleaning industry on a worldwide level. And so their next question, and we'll finish you with this thought, is, well, I love what you're saying, Mark, Scott. I love it. Where do I get that? We're putting together our own programs here that'll give you the ability to get certified in certain components. If you're looking to get certified in the general cleaning practices as a certified custodial technician, there's an organization or a department within the ISSA called Cleaning Management Institute that offers that 3-day certification program, which is now being performed online. I was a guest speaker yesterday on that. The other program that they offer are those that want to evolve in the cleaning industry into supervision, team leadership, or even entrepreneurial activity, starting their own business. And that's all strategic stuff that goes beyond the tactics of cleaning, and that's called the Certified Custodial Supervisor Program, although really aimed at senior staff level, because it's strategic in nature. And that's also offered through the Cleaning Management Institute, a department of the ISSA. So there you go. I wanted to throw a plug out. I spent 4 years there, the last 4 years, helping them develop that curriculum, and have great respect for it. Other organizations you can look to, just to be fair, is IICRC, the Institute of Inspection and Cleaning Restoration, IICRC. And then BOMA, which is Building Owners and Managers Association, the BSCAI, which is BSCAI. I have to think about that one, sorry.
It's early.
Yeah. But anyway, those are just some of those that I have great respect for, and they can all provide. APA's another one for people involved with education community. I have great respect for all of them, and their certifications really go a long way to becoming part of what we can use to elevate the cleaning industry to a higher level of professionalism, to a higher level of importance to our communities, to our societies, and maybe it makes us look more important to our own families.
Well, some valuable information out there. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
I didn't realize the number of people cleaning in the world. That's a lot. You could only get them to come to my house.
There you go.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Stay tuned. There's other live shows coming up, and if you're not watching this live, there's repeats of all the previous shows as well as the upcoming ones. As they move out of live, they'll be available for replay as well. So thanks again for tuning in, and